Hey Team Numis Canada, subscribers, coin collectors young and old, and anyone else that might be watching, welcome to Numis Canada with Bruce. Today we have a mail call from the Royal Mint, and we'll get into all of that right after this. Welcome back. We'll start off with this package from the Royal Mint, and because if it is one of the coins that I'm expecting, then it may be requiring further investigation. There we go. And obligatory paperwork. Paper. There's a couple things in here, it looks like. And this is from the Invest in the Future Little Treasures. Okay, that's advertising in an empty box. So let's check this out. The Royal Mint. These are coins from Alfred the Great. And of course, you might wonder who Alfred the Great is. He is the only monarch from the British Isles to ever have the title the Great, and he existed over 1,000 years ago. And the art designs back then were very simplified, and I will do some additional research on this, but for now I will simply show you the coins. This is the non-silver version of the coin, and of course you will see a very unusual image of Alfred the Great, because the art style back then was much simplified over more recent versions of it. As we see here, this is a more recent version of the King Alfred the Great. And of course, even that is centuries old. But this one is 1,000 years old, the design that was put on to the currency back then. So let me take this out. This is Cupro Nickel. And here we go. And there's Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, who's the current reign. And of course, many depictions of Alfred the Great, his birth, him on a horse, the Monogram Penny, him older in life, and a statue of Alfred the Great. And of course, there's all the various dates. Alfred is born, Alfred's ascension, diplomacy, a diplomatic treaty, a monogram penny, the revival of learning, a lasting legacy. And of course, there is apparently a jewel with Alfred the Great. The priceless Alfred Jewel is a piece of rock crystal set over gold enameling from Alfred's reign, which was found in North Petherington with the inscription Alfred mech Hecht Gwewiken, which translates to Alfred offered me to be made. It is believed the object was made for the king. And I will go into some history about this coin later in the video. Well, I'll show you the silver coin first. Silver coin. £5. This coin is number 808 of 2,250. And it is 925, is sterling silver, 925. Since at least 1282, the coins struck by the Royal Mint have been independently and rigorously checked to determine their quality and fineness. This judicial ceremony was known as the Trial of the Pyx and still takes place today. More than 700 years later, every year, an independent jury sworn in by the Queen's remembrance ascertains as to whether the coins made by the Royal Mint are of the correct weight and diameter and composition required by law. This means you can be assured that the coin in your possession is the highest quality. It is advisable to avoid handling the coin as fingerprints will spoil its proof quality. So that's about the coin and not about the king. And here we go, building the foundations for a future. When Alfred the Great came to the throne, Britain was divided into smaller kingdoms and was in the grip of the Viking raids. Alfred succeeded where many had failed, despite losing ground and even retreating to the marshes. His strategic approach to battle meant that he was able to decisively defeat the Viking leader Guthrum in 878 and successfully deal with the second period of major Viking attacks in the 1890s. Away from the battlefield, Alfred was best known for his intellect, piety, and fairness. Among his achievements were new laws, a revival of learning, the promotion of English as a written language, a new design of ships for his navy, and defensive network of fortified sites. (848) Alfred is born. Alfred the Great was born at the time of increasing unrest. England's Viking raids are frequent, and Danes begin to settle in parts of eastern England, which leaves Wessex as one of the only remaining Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in England. Alfred's ascension. Following the death of his brother Alfred I, Alfred is chosen as king in 871. He is just 22 when he becomes king of Wessex, But by medieval standards, he is a seasoned fighter and leader. Alfred immediately seeks to bring stability to the country. (878) A diplomatic treaty. In 878, the Viking leader Guthrum forces Alfred's retreat to the Athenry marshes, but the king rallies his forces, decisively defeating Guthrum at the Battle of Edington. The peace treaty of Wedmore is agreed, and Guthrum is baptized before returning to East Anglian Kingdom. Alfred organizes a system of garrison defensive sites that encircles Wessex, enabling him to see off further Viking attacks in the 1890s. The Monogram Penny. Minting was first taking place in England before Alfred's reign, but one of the first coins to clearly state that it was minted in London is the Monogram Penny, a silver coin featuring the name LVN Lundonia, Latin for London, and a crude but characterful portrait of the king. It is important to artifact in the Royal Mint's history and can be traced back to Alfred the King's reign. After his defeat, Guthrum, Alfred recruits scholars to his court to help revive learning. Major works are translated from Latin into Old English in order for them to be more accessible, and West Saxon history is recorded in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Alfred learns to read and encourages his court to follow example. (1899) A lasting legacy. Alfred dies in 1899, succeeded by his son, who becomes known as Edward the Elder. Alfred may have died before his vision of unity is fully realized, but England is ruled as one country within his grandson's lifetime. Alfred is the only English monarch to be named the Great during his reign, and he created the blueprint for a strong, educated, and empathetic leader. And that is Alfred the Great. And you may think this is a not appropriate image for such a great king, but that is the image that was on the obverse of the penny of that king. And I'm very proud to have this in my collection because Alfred the Great was the only monarch in UK history to be given the title the Great. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you again soon. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and keep on collecting.